you might have something to say. Jan Denning, good afternoon. Felicity Berry, Fizz Baker, Tristan Griffiths, Jan Denning again, Anika Janice Finity, Laura Moore, Sabine Edwards, Kerry Regan. Wow, there's quite a few people calling in now. Simon Hubbard, Sam Keithy, good afternoon, Sam. How are you down there at Mix and Match? Alex Soam, over there in Ibiza.
Hey, Sam.
Now, she is already a hot contender for winning most glamorous location.
It's
Rob
every
Everly,
week. Every week she's winning this.
Yeah, she says. Fizz said Essex. Alex said no. Me, I'm winning it. Leanne in Wales. Rob Everly, Charlton Hayes in Bristol, super glamorous. Tristan's in Derbyshire on Facebook. Working from home, sunny South Wales. Burntwood near Lichfield. Shirley in East Sussex. Whereabouts in East Sussex, Shirley? We are just outside Battle, so we're probably not too far away from you. Chi tuning in from Manchester. Ben Tucker, Fiona McGill. See, it's embarrassing when I do this. Fiona McGill-Ray. That's awful. Sorry. And Stephanie Gary. Loads of people watching all over the place, but yet again, so far, Alex is the winner.
No, I seen Athens as well. Daniela in Athens.
We're gonna have to test this. Simon Hubbard's in Eastbourne. Good afternoon, Simon. You're just a few minutes along the coast. Come say hi sometime.
So anyway. Yeah, that's a hello. So now would be a good time. Should we get on with the show?
Yes,
I think it'd be a really good time to bring our guest in, Rowan. Yeah, hi, Rowan. How are you?
Hi, guys. I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Thank you for coming on the show. Really good to have you on here.
My pleasure.
What we thought we'd do is, as you probably heard, this show's all about the gamification of online events and offline events, to be honest. But do you want to start with telling us a bit about your company, what you guys do, how long you've been, operating, please?
Yeah, sure. So our company, we've been going for about 14 years, and we have a platform that we've been building for the last 10 years, which our customers use to build virtual worlds. So virtual worlds is they're obviously largely three-dimensional. They're on the internet, and they're filled with people interacting with each other in real time, representing themselves in shared spaces through the use of an avatar, a customized representation of themselves. And so our customers, some of them are building massively multiplayer online games where people are running around killing trolls. Some of them are doing live music events or virtual classrooms, but obviously a lot of them are doing events of different kinds, and that's particularly pertinent at the moment, where people are trying to work out how to really create immersive experiences using technology like this.
Fantastic. So I guess your world's got a bit crazy since the non-real world events.
Yeah, it has. I mean, you have to be sensitive to the environment we're in. It's a bad time to be investing in hot yoga studios or something like that. But it's been a very good time to be in the virtual world space. I think I calculated I've had something like 400 sales calls that I've sat on over the last 2 months. It's been pretty much 10 a day in, day out. With that's from running. We ran one article in the Wall Street Journal of just being absolutely stampeded with demand. So we're busy hiring business development people at the moment.
And has that come from a really broad range of businesses, or is it from specific areas?
Well, a very broad range within the general space of events. A lot of events companies. Of course, that ranges from people like Stanford University or Boston Consulting Group, who it's not an events company, but are obviously in events form a central part of their operations. Through to actual conference companies and exhibition companies, and then also festivals and as we were saying just before we came on air as well, a lot of the sort of the experienced designers who are actually teams that we really like working with because they understand how to they're teams of people who are very good at like building something for the first time. A lot of experienced design. They're doing something for the first time every time because they're always looking to break new ground. And they're really strong partners when we find ourselves working with them.
So what typical, you know, when you get an inquiry from an event company, what type of things are they asking for? Is it very different? I mean, do you kind of have off the box solutions for, you know, somebody wants to put on a conference and they want to use you guys to kind of, you know, build in a bit of engagement?
Yeah, so our platform is actually a self-service platform. So before the lockdowns came along, our clients were, you know, building from scratch from a big sort of development environment that we have, pulling content together and using our components and scripting experiences. And then when the lockdowns came along, basically we sort of because the sort of the event space in the context of workshops and seminars and conferences and expos, it's relatively straightforward feature set for us to support compared with some of our projects. So so we basically pulled together some templates exactly as you would imagine, you know, big open plan office spaces, workshop regions, exhibition space, conference regions, places where you can move people from a plenary session out to breakout groups, give them tasks, bring them back. And so we put some templates together, and then what our clients are basically doing, we've realized that we're kind of a bit like a it's a bit like taking on a CRM system or something like that. Our clients are picking up our tools, and it's a bit, you know, they're sort of finding they can configure our templates to precisely match the flow of the kind of event that they want to organize, right? So they can like create their own configured custom templates that allow them to move an audience collectively through a shared experience that precisely mirrors, often initially mirrors exactly what they were doing in the real world, because that's familiar and they know that it, you know, their audience understands it, and it's kind of like part of the IP.
They're expecting it.
And then, you know, some will start to develop beyond that and realize, okay, well, in a digital world, maybe we think about things slightly differently. Although, very interestingly, actually, that's not as it's interesting that sort of you know, the horseless carriage syndrome isn't as you know, where you're kind of like still building yesterday's solution in today's environment, is strangely not that present. Actually, very often the format of the event that people are used to running in the real world, when you bring it into the virtual world, actually replicates very well, and you're able to create the same value with the same principles, and it's because in a way what you're doing in the virtual world is you're trying to trying to get an accurate representation of the real world. You know, it is a model, right? You're using a model. And so very often what people are, you know, the principles and the knowledge and the expertise that an event company has is very valuable in the virtual environment, and what they know about how to circulate people and socialize people and build bonds of trust and so on and so forth is very applicable.
So this whole notion of gamifying events, how where are you seeing particular successes, especially in the event world? Perhaps not so much corporate, but if we just take the event world, where are you seeing particular successes with people using your platform, and how are they driving the use of games within their event to get that experience and that engagement from it?
Well, I think it's worth thinking about what do we mean by gamification, right? So I can show and describe a few examples if you want me to.
That'll be fantastic. Yeah.
So let me if I just stop sharing my camera and share my screen, I can just show a few things. So I'll start just by showing a slide. So this slide shows just like a standard exhibition hall. This is a conference that runs every couple of months on our platform. We have anywhere between 6 and 10 live events a week, running clients doing workshops and live music shows and so on and so forth. So to speak to gamification, well, so you can very easily embed kind of like ambient reward-based gamification into a virtual exhibition or a virtual conference like this. We have a quest system, for example, and achievements and rewards and so on and so forth. So you can just build into an exhibition hall like this, for instance, a little sort of background counter collection step from a quest, effectively, that will, you know, pay attention every time you walk onto a different exhibition stand, and if you visit every exhibition stand in the hall, then you get a reward. Maybe we give you some promotional credits, or we unlock some content, or you just get a pat on the back or a star next to your name, or whatever it may be. So that kind of like ambient sort of nudging people towards exploration and completion and so on and so forth is very simple and straightforward. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's very much, the kind of way I've used gamification in the past, with an exhibition passport system.
Yes,
where, they have to go to every stand and get a signature, and then they can go in for a draw or whatever.
That's right.
I guess a lot of people have done that.
Sort of completionist stuff, and works perfectly well, and is useful and interesting. I think it really only scratches the very surface of what a full game engine brings to the events space, which is perhaps a sort of a wider spectrum in terms of thinking about gamification. So let me speak to some of the other things that go beyond that and are maybe worth considering as well. So just from this event here, something to consider is so each one of these like stands has its own voice zone on it, right? When you walk onto the stand, you're in a little voice chat there, and that also goes for like the main stage or a lounge or a workshop region or whatever it may be. You're in a little voice chat with the salesman on the stand, or maybe some other delegate who's wanders on as well. But then in this public concourse area, we use something called the Doppler effect on the audio. So there's a spatial drop-off. So this little cluster here, if this guy gets bored of what these people are talking about and turns his avatar around and wanders over here and talks to this group, the audio on these people drops down and the audio on these people comes up. Well, that's effectively just a basic game engine feature that we're supporting. But it's incredibly powerful in the way that it opens up kind of like the real fabric of how people want to network in a exhibition and conference environment, because it creates a liquid fluid space where you can work the room, right? You can, if this cluster gets to 8 people, it will instantly divide into 2 sets of 4 organically. Or you can see Jeff from accounts wandering by and go and grab him and drag him into a conversation. Or you can see a potential prospect and just go and muscle in and drag them off to look at your stand. All the things that we do at a lunchtime networking event or an after party or whatever, where it's very, very hard in a webinar or a Zoom conference to have those sort of fluid, impromptu, organic interactions. It's just automatically present and happens here. So really powerful social structure to support people building new bonds of trust, networking with each other, maintaining contacts, and sort of fluid interactions within a community just comes out of the box when you move from essentially a sort of meetings based system to a shared space in which meetings are a subset of the activities. And that's so one.
Can I ask a quick question there, Rowan? Sorry to interrupt. Just with regard to that, is there a lot of input required for each kind of user to, personalize their avatar and, bandwidth? What's the kind of situation with that? Is it fairly straightforward for everybody to use?
Pretty straightforward. I mean, I can show you here. We've just, and again, this is sort of blowing our trumpet a little bit now, and I realized I should be here talking about the generic stuff. But
fine. That's fine.
Momentarily show off just because it speaks to that kind of like ease of use point. So we've just delivered our solution so that it runs natively in the browser, right? No install and no plugin. So I'm just showing that now. You'll see I've got literally, this is an embedded video. It's actually interactive video, a new format we're working on, but it's an embedded video in a blog post, right? And I've done it there just to show the absolute simplicity of down and dirty delivery of a virtual world. I've got one button I need to click, which is enter. That brings me into the conference. Once I'm in the conference, I don't even need to learn how to walk, to be honest. There are just menu buttons that I can pick from to visit all the exhibition stands. There's a button I can toggle my voice on and off. So you have to be able to allow people to get in instantaneously. You don't want people to have to install software or anything like that. And you have to make presence and being present with other people unthreatening and effortless. And so you can see here, there's no plug-in here. This is literally just interactive video that I'm streaming to the browser, but I can click, I'm visiting the different exhibition stands. I can zoom in, I'm watching a video on this exhibition stand. Haven't had to learn how to do anything other than click a few buttons. And that also applies for, taking my seat in the main stand. I can look at the speaker, or I can look at the screen, obviously, when someone's doing a presentation there. So trying to keep it all as simple as possible means kind of like allowing people to jump to wherever they want to, and kind of like designing the environment. And this again speaks to gamification. Gamification is one mistaken way to think about it, or limiting way to think about it, is that it is kind of, the basic principles of gamification is about putting barriers up in front of people, right? That's what a game is. But there's kind of like an inherent conflict between putting barriers up in front of people and people particularly in a B2B environment having an efficient an effective experience, right? So gamification for me goes beyond that and is much more about the value of immersion in terms of people's comprehension of information, putting information in context, and allowing people to build community and build relationships together. And those are things that game engines do very well as well.
Yeah, it looks very cool, doesn't it, Dom?
I love it. It's actually not what I was expecting to see. I don't know what I was expecting to see, but it goes way beyond that, because it's exactly as Rowan said. It's turning it more into a game because it's built on a game engine. So there are elements of this that would be very familiar to my 11-year-old son, who's massively into Fortnite, because it's built on a game engine. But taking that and applying that into this world is fascinating.
That's right, and it's really interesting to think about why we're doing this, right? Because it's having a shared 3D space with an avatar in it that you are responsible for and that you navigate through the space. It's not a gimmick, right? The reason you do that is because you want people to have the most intuitive, a sort of unconscious familiarity with the rules and the manners of engagement with other people in a real-time space. And so it's natural to represent that as accurately as you can as a model of what we do in the real world, because then everyone understands. I'll show you one really simple example, which I guess qualifies as gamification. It's certainly sort of symbolism from these guys from their event. Just really, really simple. It's almost just iconography in a way. This slide, everybody understands the concept of a bowl of business cards on an exhibition stand table. Yeah. So in the virtual world, we make that how you can effectively, sign up for their, you submit your LinkedIn profile there so that the exhibition stand operator can connect with you after the event. So literally it's just a hook for the walk by traffic to see it. There's a little maybe thing next to it saying, win an iPod or get a discount or whatever it may be. The exhibition sponsor can wire up what he's giving away as a result, whether it's your name in a hat or a discount code or whatever. But it's just it's just instinctive. Everyone automatically understands what that symbol represents and how they use it and what permission they're giving to who.
It's what you do at an event anyway. You go to a lot of exhibitions, you do this kind of thing anyway.
Yeah, we notice it with these guys. We also notice it, and these guys are a really good case study for a lot of the events we do. So they have this sort of exhibition hall where there's an auditorium, exhibition space with branded stands and so on and so forth. Obviously the media, this is one of our templates. We have quite a lot of clients using this this type of scene, embedding the media of the event. So this is all like where the serious industry of the event takes place, and people are talking about partnerships and so on and so forth. At the end of their 2-day event, they then did an after party, right? This is another good example, effectively, of gamification. Brought some live DJs in, had a live party the Friday evening, teleported all the users to this sort of neon nightclub where there's dance pads and so on and so forth, and live DJs streaming in. What I find really interesting about it is the feature set available to the delegates in this space is pretty much the same as the feature set available on the main exhibition stand, right? There's spatial audio. They're what are they doing? They're mooching about, clustering, chatting, swapping business cards, agreeing follow-up calls. But when you move them to a social space like this, without having to do anything, everybody just instinctively understands that they're having a different conversation, a more informal conversation about what they did at the weekend or family or what their holiday plans are. They've got the opportunity to let their hair down. And you don't have to sort of poke them in the ribs and say, okay, well, now we're in the fun zone, everybody have fun kind of thing. Yeah. Kind of what you end up with a webinar or anything. It just happens instinctively because our brains understand context, and so that's a really powerful part of what gamification means as well. Yeah,
absolutely. We want to encourage a few questions. If you're sitting at home with any questions about what Rowan's showing right now, or actually indeed anything on the subject of gamification, we've got a couple of people that were lined up to call in. This would be a really good opportunity because we want to open this out and broaden the conversation beyond just the questions that Neil and I are asking. So if you want to dial in, please do. You can get us on 07989 555 775. That's going to dial my mobile straight in, and then I will get you on air as soon as possible. Please do get involved and call us with your information and your ideas.
While you're
so Rowan, I got a quick question. Yeah, go on. No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So I had a quick question, Rowan. It was just regarding, so I know that you build obviously your own worlds and things like this, like you've just been showing us. Are there any kind of off-the-shelf things that you can bring to other people who may be doing a Zoom call or something like that you guys can bring in, or do you have to take them outside of that and go into your world and then go from there? Are there any kind of other different levels of the gamification side of things that you guys can do?
Well, because the world embeds in any browser and is literally like just no different to embedding an image or a video in a web page, and we have an authentication and a sort of event management API, as it were. So it's possible to integrate in a completely seamless way with an existing content management portal or an existing sort of CRM application, anywhere where you'd want to embed one or multiple entrances to the world. And similarly, you can have web pages embedded inside the world as well. So sort of it's all designed to be outside in and inside out integratable with existing systems. So just be a native part of the internet. What we've tried to do is kind of like build WordPress for complex multi-user 3D simulations. So you can just come along and assemble, your set of buttons, your sort of templates. Then open the doors to these rich immersive experiences with the same sort of effort that you would have building a Squarespace or a web or a WordPress website, and integrating it.
We just had a great question from Sophia Dom. I don't know if you saw that one.
I did see it. How does the dancing?
How does the dancing work?
How does the dancing work? Yeah, good question. Well, so I can show you. Okay, well, look, I'm just going to show this scene that I'm showing here. I can show you a little bit of dancing in here because there is actually some music playing in here. This is just a weekend project I'm working on. It kind of speaks to gamification a little bit as well. This is a new office. This is my new office, actually. And it's designed to be kind of like have a little bit of experiential wow factor. So if you imagine, I invite you to a meeting, right? And you click on a web page like give you, and it says enter, and you land in a space like this. This here is actually the arrival zone. I'm just going to come down and find my avatar in here. So you can land in a space like this. I'll show you a little bit of dancing. I can do some break dancing right now. I'm not sure what frame rate you're seeing here. Hopefully you're seeing the decent frame rate, but having a little dance myself there. So plenty of opportunity to dance this. We've got about 5,000 motion captured animations in here as well that we've recorded over the years. So plenty of different styles.
Right.
Just to speak to just another example of kind of like gamification, I suppose. My design idea with this region. So you can see I've just spawned a vehicle that I'm now sitting in. And there's just on the top of the screen, there's an enter vehicle button. So my idea is I spawn this vehicle when you log in, and when you click that enter button, you become my passenger, right? So you're sitting in the car with me. The enter button will go away. I then say, okay, right, let's go to my office. So I take you off, drive through this sort of abstract cartoon world, off the cliff, gigantic sort of sweeping jump that I'm about to do. Hold on, I've got to get that curve a little bit less. Whoa, just come around and do the jump. Whoa. I fell off the
crashing.
Crashing, yeah, but let me just show you where I end up. That was actually the worst jump I've ever done. I normally manage to go off the end. Through this entrance. Whoops, stuck there as well. Again, I'm busy testing this at the moment so that it doesn't keep getting stuck. Come on. Oh, now I've got stuck in my vehicle.
Someone's also just said it's like real life Sims.
Yes, well, that's right. In fact, funnily enough, our marketing director launched The Sims actually for Electronic Arts and has now come over to help us do this. And you're right. I mean, The Sims is basically single player, and this is basically multiplayer. So yes, it is basically multiplayer. The Sims. Sorry, I've got to get around this thing here. There we are. I'm now in the tube. Around. When I've been practicing this, it's been much smoother experience because I hit the right place. But now I come up here and I can take you out, and we are now effectively, this rock here is my office. I can take a seat. You can see slouched in the office there. I've got some paintings, a couple of chairs. I can even now launch here a browser, which I can start browsing on, go to a web page. At the moment, I'm browsing privately, so it's only me seeing what I'm looking at here. But then if I get to, okay, well, I want to talk about this content, all the IP we have on sale in the platform, now I stream it, and you'll see it appears on the main screen that other people are seeing, and I can update that. So now I'm doing my presentation. So really, albeit I fell off the side of the cliff and didn't get around the loop very well, this is work in development. You can see what I'm aiming for here, what excites me about what I'm building here is what I'm trying to build. It's just almost like an absurdly grand, extravagant, sweeping entrance into what is, in the end, the same collaborative space that we might be going into before, a video conference, a presentation, whatever, but just trying to situate it in the most kind of like emotionally powerful, uplifting space. And it is one of the key learnings I would say to anybody thinking about, how do you conceive of doing events in a virtual space? You can see there's a ship lying down there and so on and so forth. But one thing to think about is grand open spaces are emotionally powerful. Yeah, we spend a lot of time with our clients. They come to us and they say, and what they want to do is put all their users in a little box, like a meeting room, and have meetings in there. And we spend a lot of our time saying, look, there's a reason why we like standing on top of a mountain in the real world, right? It's because all that space in front of you has a really powerful emotional effect. And you can recreate that in the virtual world as well. And the emotional impact is there too. So whatever you do, don't put your users in a whole load of, the equivalent of sort of like, closed plan office rooms or, conference rooms or whatever, because it's claustrophobic and it's depressing. Put them on a mountaintop, put them on the moon, put them somewhere dramatic, and people's retention of information improves. To actually retain information better in a memorable spatial environment. That's why card counters put if you're counting cards, you kind of put each card at a different point in a journey that in your mind, the doorstep, the front gate, the post office, so on and so forth. It's because you retain information better in that spatial context, and it's uplifting, right? It really is emotionally uplifting for people compared with being in a recreation of a cubicle.
Sam Keithy says, recently got taught about VR by my friend's 13-year-old son. Thought then it'd be amazing for events, but this is better than I could have imagined. It would work so well for us. Sam runs Mix and Match, a cocktail making experience and provider. We've got Craig, we started to look into this for events around 4 years ago. We had a great plan for it to work. However, the tech we're looking at just for one festival was coming in way too expensive for us. I'm assuming prices are coming down now. It would have been great to have followed it through. We did have, and apologies, I don't know if we still have, but let me just see, because we did have someone calling, and I don't know who this is because I've got 2 calls holding. So let's see. Who have we got? Have we got anyone on hold? Have we got anyone there? Oh, I beg your pardon. Sorry, who have we got?
Hello?
Hello. Who's that?
Hi, it's Naomi Rose.
Hi, Naomi. How are you?
Hi, Naomi.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, really good. Really good. Thank you. Thanks for calling in. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. It's a really interesting conversation. So within my work, I work with tech and artificial intelligence. So this sort of side of it is really interesting. Because I've got 2 questions actually. So I'm just wondering on how you actually navigate through this sort of virtual gamification side of the event. Because I attended, as part of my work, an event where we actually had to use sort of an Xbox controller to go around the event.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if that's something that's how you use, or whether you use a keypad, like the keypad sort of space in the laptop, or whether it's a keyboard, because I know it does differ for the sort of accessibility for many people. And then the second part of the question is, I think it's all amazing, but my issue is when I do these events, I usually put my sort of sessions or webinars in the background, and because I have emails popping up, and then I actually don't manage to do any of this sort of fun stuff. So I'm just wondering, on the sort of analytical side, what is that like?
Oh, on the analytics side, yeah. So to speak to the navigation point, I think there are 2 ways.
I'm just going to jump in, bro. I'm going to ask you to keep the answers brief because we've got a number of people waiting to call in, and I want to make sure we get through as many as possible.
Okay, so navigating, you tend to use either buttons on the side to teleport instantly to different places, like I showed you, jumping to different stands, or you can use an Xbox controller, but most of our users to free move are just using the arrow keys on the keyboard. And obviously, on mobile, the UX is slightly different, and there's like a screen-based joystick on the corner, which you use your thumb. But on PC and Mac, it's just using arrow keys.
And briefly on the analytics.
So on the analytics side, I mean, we capture everything. The entire scene is read reportable. So whatever anybody wants to analyze can just be put on a timeline per user or aggregated. We have a full, everything in the scene can be captured. It's one of the configurable things that the client sets up when they do a project.
Great. Naomi, if you don't mind, I'm going to move straight on because I've got someone else holding. So I'm going to drop off. I'm going to switch over to our next caller. But thank you very much for calling in. We hope to see you soon.
Thanks, Naomi.
Thank you. Bye.
Who do we have next? Good afternoon. Who have we got?
Oh, hi, it's Steph.
Hello. Hi, Steph. How are you?
Hello, Steph.
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, really well, thank you. Steph, where are you calling from, and what are you calling about?
So I'm calling from sunny Tamworth.
Okay.
Sorry, I sounded surprised. My live is obviously a bit delayed. I was still listening to the last answer. I'm an event host, and back in the real world before COVID times, I was like a quiz host and event host in various venues across London. So obviously when COVID hit, all of that work stopped, everywhere closed, and I decided to start a virtual events company.
Yeah.
So a lot of my events, they are literally games. So it's not exactly what, you've been talking about today. And it's basically on like the opposite end of the scale of the kind of stuff Rohan does. Like, so impressive. I'm a big fan of The Sims, and I was very much enjoying the demonstrations. But yeah, I would echo a lot of what Rohan has said in terms of like, you've just got to keep things simple. There's nothing worse than like a really tricksy, set of rules and things that you need to do to take part in a virtual event or virtual game. And I know this is really obvious stuff, but I was trial and erroring loads of different ways to do like different quizzes virtually and different, like I do like party bingos and stuff like that. And, you just need to find the simplest way, because no one's reading your email before you send it out that's got the instructions in. Like, people are barely listening to you at the beginning when you're explaining how it all works. So you just keep it simple. My top tip.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
so I guess,
if anyone is on the...
Hi, Steph. This is Neil.
Hi, Neil.
Hi, Steph. Sorry to interrupt you there. I was just going to say, so I guess the way people use your services is, they might be having a conference as well, and then they go to you for that side of the quiz side to bring a bit of fun into it as well, to get people engaged with a bit of friendly stuff as well. Is that the case?
Yeah, exactly. So like, I would reach out to conferences and do the sort of team building bits, like maybe.
Hang on one moment. We appear to have lost your.
We've lost her audio a bit, haven't we?
Yeah.
I'm really sorry, Steph. We appear to have lost you just as you were answering your question. Then. Okay, I'll tell you what. We're going to move on because we've got another call holding. If we can come back to Steph, we will. Let's see who this one is. Oh. Hang on a minute. We've got all sorts of technical issues going on here. Hello, who have we got calling now?
Hi, it's Chichi here calling in from a very drizzly Manchester.
Hey, Chichi, how are you?
Hi,
I'm good. I'm really Hi, I'm Tiff. I've come through. I've called a couple of times. So my question is around people doing the more traditional sort of video events and virtual events we're experiencing at the moment. I represent a software firm that's actually created some software for inviting questions before events, and this show has reminded me that we actually have the facility to reward questions. So you can get a gold question award, silver question award, a bronze award. My question is, what do people think of that as an idea? So suggesting something like an iPad for the gold question award at this event if you post it in advance. What do people think about that?
I think that's a great idea, personally.
Yeah,
is it just a panel? Is it a panel? Is it a panel
Sorry,
of people?
Neil, can I just ask Rowan? Can you re-enable your camera, because I'd like to get your thoughts on this, because this is effectively what you were talking about earlier about the questing, I guess. Sorry, Neil, carry on.
Sorry,
Sorry, TT. Yes. I was just going to say, hi, TT. I was just going to ask: is that judged by a panel of people with questions?
No, actually, it's organised by the person who creates the question board. So our platform has basically made it really simple to create a URL where anyone can put the question in advance of an event, and the organizer, the person who moderates that page, can decide to reward them. And we set out to make 3 types of awards. So the organizers and the people behind the event can actually opt to choose one, but the person who physically awards that and provides that badge onto the question is the person who's created the account on the platform.
Cool. Sounds really good. Yeah. How about you, Rowan? Have you guys done anything like that?
Yes, I mean, it is part of it's part of our. We do it through our quest system, which again sort of grants rewards tied to various different events. The only thing I would note is that, of course, you have, with any of these gamification elements, you have to be sensitive to the balance between nudging people to do something you want them to do and creating a reward that effectively gets them to do what you want them to do, but badly. That is to say, you don't want loads of people asking dumb questions just because there's a reward available for them, right? So there has to be some sensitivity around how the incentives are offered, and kind of like I always think that it's best as a sort of it's best if you get the reward afterwards and get the hit afterwards, rather than your kind of like primary driver for doing something is because there's a reward available, because then that raises question over the quality of what you're doing.
Yeah, get you. Yeah, totally. That's a great idea, though.
That's a fair point. Yeah, that's a fair point. I think the this session's been really interesting to me, because when we set out and created the ability to reward questions on Ascenti, we found that people didn't use it so much because they were able to go to in-person events and interact with people. What they used a lot more were the online polling systems prior to the event. Obviously now in lockdown and sort of looking at facing virtual events going forward, I think people are more keen to invite this interaction, particularly because on the platform, when you post a question, if you're standing with Twitter, your Twitter handle is associated with it as well. Yep. So the questions, the fact that you've been rewarded, they're all things that you can use to gain social capital. So they follow you outside in the real world. So particularly, we don't expect to get silly questions. They don't get uploaded on the system anyway.
Yeah, you don't want to ask a silly question, do you? If your name or your Twitter handle's attached to it, I guess.
Yeah. That was it, really.
Fantastic.
Thanks so much for the info.
Cool. Thank you for calling.
Thank you very much for calling in. We did actually have someone else who was ready to call, and I missed him 3 times, I think. So I'm just going to see if we can get Adam back.
Hi.
Adam should be online. How are you, Adam?
I'm good, thanks. I'm just going to turn off the stream because it's slightly out of sync and a bit confusing.
Yeah, sorry. I missed you 2 or 3 times then, potentially. We had so many calls coming in at one go, and I was trying
Thanks,
to answer
Adam.
you.
Thanks for persevering.
No worries.
Adam, just tell us a little bit about you and your experience on this subject, can you?
Yeah, sure. So I've got a photo booth company, and we're kind of not doing that well for live events at the moment, obviously, and we have booths in venues as well as for live events, and also for brand and experiential stuff, and all of that's come to a halt. So one of the experiences that we offer in our booths, which kind of harks back to what Steph was saying about keeping things simple, is our booths tell people what poses to pull when they're having their photos taken. And this is something that stems from when I started the company by accident 9 years ago. I actually used to be hidden inside the photo booth, using a voice changer to change my voice into a robot to tell people what poses to pull when they're at an event.
But it was you. Well, it was you with a voice simulator of a robot.
Exactly.
Not an actual robot.
Exactly. Yeah. So I used to be hidden inside the booth. That's where the name of my company comes from, which is Photobot.
Right. Okay.
And so since then, that's been. I did that for the first 2 years of the business, and since then, thankfully, we managed to automate that. And yeah, this is something that is kind of our USP at events. It just means that having a photo taken is dead easy. And so when lockdown came along, initially I was kind of a bit like, I'm not quite sure what we're going to do, as an alternative product, and had a bit of look around what was available. Couldn't really see anything that was that interesting to me or related to what we do. And then suddenly this idea for a game appeared, which is basically a game version of that photo experience. So what we ended up building is a game that people can play on any device, anywhere they are in the world against each other. And effectively the game tells you what pose to pull, and then you've got 30 seconds to do that pose. And then when when everybody submitted their poses into the game, I should say this is for up to the game supports up to 400 players. So when everybody's in groups of 25, basically there's a tournament sort of element to it. But So up to 25 players are playing against each other. Everybody's taking a photo, say of tiger roar as their pose, and they all submit it into the game. And then when that round is over, everybody then scores each other using Tinder swiping gestures.
Yeah.
So everybody swipes left if the photo of their opponent is bad, right if it's good, and up if it's super good. And you basically get to see what everybody's done. And it's just a funny way to take photos. And also, it's dead simple because some games that you might play online involve a bit of pressure to be creative, which I think is slightly intimidating to some people. And admittedly, what we've created is a game which revolves around taking photos of yourself, which people are also slightly intimidated by. But because it's so easy, we just the response has been really, really good so far.
I think
it's
just
really
going
interesting because all of the things that we're talking about here, whether it's Rowan or Chi-Chi or what Steph was talking about, and now with Adam as well, these are all ways of gamifying events or gamifying something online, but actually coming from very, very different angles and for very, very different user groups, for very different events. But every one of them has a use in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, completely. We're having quite a good response from companies that are interested in using this for like everything from team building to icebreakers in meetings and all that sort of stuff. So it's good because the stuff that would be originally created for with a kind of live event as an alternative to live events in mind, actually these products can be used. Can be squeezed into all sorts of different places that maybe weren't available to us previously.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the key to them is making them, like Rowan said as well, making them as simple as possible. But if you make these things too complicated, people are just tuned out straight away. And I know you and Steph both said that as well. It's all about simplicity, really.
Simple and also kind of like safe. Right, a lot of these, like that sort of photo pose game. It's kind of like it's like these Victorian parlor games that people would play in, in family homes before we had television and radio and things like that. And there's a whole there's a whole sort of world to mine there of kind of like. Easy, safe, sort of failure-free interactions, ways that people can, as you say, break the ice without exposing themselves to any sort of social risk, and that's really important as well.
Adam, I'll leave you offline now, but thanks very much for calling in. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Adam.
I just want to move on to this question because it's really interesting, and it's one probably for you to answer, Rowan, with some experience in this potentially. Is from, and it's completely gone. Oh, it's from Kaylee. It was, how do you see gamification with hybrid events, delegates in a physical environment and those accessing online? But I guess the other way to think about is delegates in a virtual environment accessing all of the content online. Because I'm assuming you have the ability for event managers to deliver content into your platform.
Yes, you can stream multiple live streams and multiple and whatever sort of archive libraries or progressively developing archive libraries from the live streams. Yes, you can bring them all in world. I think bringing the real and virtual participants together is really interesting. I think. We've seen it at a number before the lockdowns took place. We've seen a number of stuff, particularly actually in the music industry, but also in other kind of like community-based events where people are, making a point of, doing like a full wall projection of the virtual world onto a wall in the venue where the real event is. And then in the virtual world, having a full wall projection that's a live video stream of the real world.
Wow, okay. That's interesting.
yeah, you've got this sort of almost like through the looking glass plane that people can in both spaces can walk up to and peer through and see the people peering back at them and talk and so on and so forth. So that's always quite an effective thing to do. We have some clients working on doing it even with holograms as well, projecting holograms of the avatars into the physical space.
Wow, so exciting.
Stephanie put another comment in. Stephanie, I'm really sorry. I think you've put that I put you on hold. I didn't intentionally put you on hold. I was trying to put someone else on hold, and I think I might have put you on hold instead. So my apologies that I cut you off in your prime. But you have made a really interesting point. She said, the main thing to remember with virtual gamification is everyone really wants an activity. They don't want to just sit and listen to someone talking, listening to someone playing live music. They want to get involved. At physical events, people can dip in and out and network between activities, but you lose that element virtually. Remember, they just want to play and will play no matter what it is, but the more fun and engaging without making it difficult, the better. And I think it's absolutely right.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. That's a really important point, and I'll just show one last thing that we use that kind of speaks to that. It's another type of event, I suppose, or very much focused on that kind of like interactivity during an event. I'm just showing my screen again. These images that I'm going to show now, these are what we call build parties. So you can see here, this is a conference room. This is actually an internal meeting, but it could just as easily be a workshop or a seminar or anything else. That's me sitting there, James in New York, Diggy in Mumbai, and James in Los Angeles. And one person put a tree or a plant on the table, and then progressively, while we're having a meeting about the quarter-3 numbers, this sort of bonsai garden gets collectively built by the people from the content in their inventories over the course of the meeting. 2 weeks later, completely different, similar group of people. Our chief product officer should have been sitting here, and instead, for some reason, rather boldly spawns a pink beanbag, sticks it in the middle of the board table, and then goes and sits on it looking back at us, which is a power move by anyone's.
Especially with the dollar signs over the building.
Well, that's the interesting thing. He put the pink thing out and sat pink beanbag out, and then from our collective unconscious appeared this kind of like doodle of us then just sort of symbolically representing this power move he had made with now a Praetorian guard of zombies and treasure at his feet and so on and so forth. The next one we did, somebody started bringing lights out and everybody started spawning anything emissive and shiny that they had into the meeting room, and it ended up looking like this. The most recent one became completely surreal with towers of grand pianos and fire engines and so on and so forth. But it speaks absolutely to that point about the pent-up appetite that people have to participate in something, to create something together, and not just be stuck, as you all are right now, in the horrible position of one person's got the megaphone and everybody else just has to sit there passively listening, which is kind of like inherent to how these sort of webinars work. So when people can do something together, they will. You're absolutely right. They'll absolutely pick at any kind of opportunity to collaborate and create together.
See, I find
Cool.
I find what you just shared absolutely fascinating, because I mean that's out and out just playing a game while you're working. I'm really interested. You've been doing this for a long time. You've got a very mature company and a very mature product, but it's targeted at a mature audience as well. But this clearly activates something in them, and they get involved and participate.
That's right, and interestingly, we were so one of our clients many years ago was IBM, and IBM did a lot of research into meetings in virtual worlds and events in virtual worlds many years ago, actually using an open source platform that we authored before this one called OpenSim, and they actually were the people who established a lot of the body of research that shows how much more effective people are in meeting spaces like this, how information is retained better. And they had proper sort of scientifically run double-blind test analysis showing that, if I say to you, do you remember the numbers for the sales in June. They were in that email I sent you on the 24th in paragraph 5. Well, you probably don't remember, but if I say, do you remember that the number for the figures in June, we were sitting in that treehouse and the sun was going down and the dragon flew by? Well, actually, you do remember. So it's not a distraction. It's actually part of how people build the information into their minds to be in a collaborative doodle. It's why we doodle on a pad when we're listening as well, right? We're situating the information in our minds.
Absolutely. I think we're gonna wrap up the subject there. We could keep going for ages, as we have seemingly every week. Rowan, thank you so much. You've come in.
Thank you, Rowan.
A completely different perspective than what I expected, but it's been absolutely fascinating and it's been really popular. So I'm really grateful for your time and for taking us through your virtual world.
That's my pleasure. Thanks very much for having us, and always a delight to be invited to talk about the subject that obviously is a massive passion for us.
Yeah, absolutely. We really appreciate your time. We'll make sure we get information from you about sine waves so that Neil can put it in the wrap up later on. But for the moment, Rowan, we'll say goodbye and thank you very much for joining us.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rowan.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. So,
okay.
Thanks again. Another great show.
There's so much stuff, and there's been a lot of people have warmed up to this, and they've started to ask the questions that I was expecting to come through. I'm really glad that we're able to do it as a phone-in, that we got a few different perspectives, because we are trying to cover all bases, and very clearly Rowan's product sits at the higher end of exactly what I really understood to be gamification of an event. But it's really, really interesting to see how people are engaging with that sort of content. But then we also have the more normal events experience that we hear about, which is the photo booths and the bingo and the karaoke's, which have an equally important place in the live and virtual event world.
Absolutely, there, and it's always driven by your events as well and your audience. There's no just one solution for this, and also your budget.
I was going to say it has to be driven by a little bit by budget, because there's no way that happens for a small association in South London.
yeah. Well, anyway,
really
thanks.
Anyway, Neil, what have we got going on next?
Well, I've just posted up a link to. I'm going to be interviewed later on live. It's going to be my turn to get the questions asked at me on EMC3 TV. The link's on there. You just need to register, guys, to watch Creative. Some of you could tune in, no problem if not. So yeah, that's going to be on there. And then next Monday, I am really excited. We've got Alison back.
Well, this is the show that blew up more than I think either you or I or anyone thought would, because it was so popular and there was so much happening that we had to just step back from it. After an hour and a half of being live, we had to step back from it and say, you know what, we're just not going to get this done properly. So we were breezing through some things, because I was thinking we need to get to the bottom of this list, and we only got halfway through it. So there could even be a part 3. I don't know. But anyway, we're going to try and get through to that. I know we're going to be talking about stories and highlights and engaging the audience and getting new customers and things like that to do with Instagram. So that's next Monday at 1:30. It's not on Tuesday. It's on Monday at 1:30, and we'll make sure that you get an invitation out on Delegate Wranglers shortly, so that everyone knows to come and join us.
Yeah, straight after the show. Yeah.
It's going to be a really, really good event, and it's a great follow-up. So if you joined us for part 1, and there's many of you that I've seen in the group today that were on for part 1, please make sure that you join us for part 2 as well, because it's going to be just as good.
Yes, it definitely will be. No pressure, Alison, if you're watching. Lots more shows coming up. I know me and you have been talking about some things. We've even been talking about another social, so we might be having one of those soon, guys, so look out for that. I'd also like to say as well, I know Don mentions it every week, but if you've got any ideas of subjects you'd like us to cover, any of the masterclasses or any specific subject, we'll see if we can get somebody involved and get somebody to help you guys learn a new skill or to develop your skills even further. I think we're going to get a Canva person on. I think that would be a really good one.
Yes, and actually I've got to share the details of that. Alex, thank you very much for sending them to me. I will share those with Neil so that you can get in touch, because we have someone that could do a Canva masterclass, and I think it would be a really good addition to everything we've done already.
Yeah, fantastic. Anyway. Right, so That's us for another week. Thank you, Dom.
That's us done. We will see you all again next Monday, 1:30 with Alison Currier, following up with part 2 of Instagram for Business. Thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you very soon.
Thanks, guys.